Hey and welcome back. In today's video, we will add a new service called phpMyAdmin. This service will provide us with an interface to manage the database. After that, we will make a slight improvement by switching from adding the configuration files during the build to the use of mounted volumes. This will give us more flexibility. Also, it will make managing the configurations easier. I'm not going to waste your time. See you in a moment. Welcome back. At the beginning, let's modify the Docker Compose file and include phpMyAdmin. I will start with the Docker Compose production version. Let me zoom in and I will add a new entry. We're gonna call it phpMyAdmin. Step down and we will specify the image we're gonna rely on. So image, I already opened the phpMyAdmin official page inside of the Docker Hub. So let's pick a tag. As we used to, we're gonna look for a fixed tag, this one here. Let me copy it. Also, I will leave you a link in the description if you wanna follow up with me. And I'm gonna add it. And now I will determine the name of the container, or container name. Follow the pattern to do dash phpMyAdmin. Next, we will add the ports. On the host, it's going to be 8080, and inside of the container, 80. Enter. The last step will be telling phpMyAdmin how to access the database server, and I can achieve that using environment variables. So, environment, let me copy the variables. The first one called PMA host, and this one will define the host name. As usual, gonna use the name of the service, DB. The second one called MySQL root password. This variable will grant phpMyAdmin access to the database server. So I will copy it from here and paste. If you noted, we have now a shared variable, the root password, this one here. And because of that, I want to export all the variable to external file called .env. This will keep the application organized and it will make it easier for me to update in the future. .env. I prepared the variable already, so I want only to copy them. Now let me separate the screen into two files and let's move them to the Docker Compose file. So the first one is the root password. Be aware, I'm using $sign with curly braces. And I will paste it. I will speed up now the process. Let me add quotation. And I want to copy it now to the development version. Basically, it's the same. So, this is everything I need to do. Let me move on to the shell to rebuild and run the application again. So, Docker, compose, as usual, -p. Let's start with production version and up. Enter. Docker will pull phpMyAdmin image and going to rebuild the application again. It will take some time, so I'll speed up the process. Now I'm live. Let's try to check and see if the project is working. I will start with localhost 8090 and seems to be okay. Now let's try to get inside of the phpMyAdmin 8080. Enter. Seems to be working also. Let's try to get inside. We're gonna use the logging data. Those here, those two. My user and 1234. Enter. Works well. This is our database to do. I want also to try the same with the development version. So let me leave now and Docker compose down and let's rebuild, but this time development version. Dev up point. Also created. Let's try it again. And seems to be working. My user 1234 enter also works well. So far until now we have copied the configuration files during the build. I mean, for example, the virtual host or the xdebug.ini. And to be honest, this is not really a flexible solution. For instance, if you want to change the root directory by adding an extra folder, test for example, you would have to rebuild the container again for the changes to take effect. Let me show you. I'm now in the root directory of the project. So docker compose -p dev build and then the service I want to rebuild, Apache and enter. And now I need to up the docker compose again. So docker compose -p dev -f docker compose dev and then up. I'm going in detach mode and enter. And now let's reload without cache. I lost the CSS file. So the changes took effect, but as I said, it's not really flexible. The best decision is to use bind mounts volumes. The first file we need to add to the volumes is the visual host. This one here. We need to copy the directory and then add extra entry to the docker compose Apache service volumes. Let me replace the space with colon. The second file is the xdebug configuration. Let me copy it from the php docker file and again extra entry inside of the php service. Replace the space with colon and now let's retrieve the original state and restart the docker compose. I will delete the folder and back to the shell. So docker compose -p dev and then -f the file, and instead of up I'm going to choose restart. Enter. As I said, you don't need to build anymore. It's enough to restart the docker compose and the changes will take effect. Let's check the browser. And as you see, it works. So this is everything for today. If you learned something, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and see you in the next chapter. Peace.